And we are back on the Ribbon Cut podcast. I'm Susan Donkers and my co-host Charles Hauser from Strata Platforms.
Today we got a great guest from the great state of South Dakota, Adam Molseed, who's with the governor's office. Adam, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charles and Susan. Appreciate the invite.
We're really happy that you're here. We've been seeing quite a bit of South Dakota recently. They were recently in Greenville, South Carolina on essentially a mission trip to talk to site selection consultants. And they graciously included us, and we were really happy to see your team.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I know the team members that were there had a great time in Greenville. Of course, a little different atmosphere from a weather standpoint.
Yeah.
But South Dakota is beautiful and it's in its own right as well. But they were happy to be there and explain South Dakota's story. So.
Well, Adam, tell us about yourself. What's your role at the governor's office? What do you do? And what's going on up there?
Yeah, thanks, Charles. So Adam Molseed, I'm our development director for the South Dakota Governor's Office of Economic Development. So I oversee a team of 7 development reps, and what our core mission with our division here within GED is to really promote South Dakota, work primarily with our in-state businesses that have chosen to make investments in our state over the last handful of years to 30-40 years of investment, make sure that they have all the tools and resources they need to be successful and continue to grow in our state. But then we also take a look at of course, looking for the right companies to come to South Dakota and partner with us and, help diversify our economy. So that's kind of the core mission of our development team, but we also interact with our economic development partners across the state. So just imagine anybody in the utility realm, from railroads to state agencies to electric utilities, water, gas companies, and then also all the nonprofits and other lending partners across the state that can bring valuable resources to help move projects across the finish line. So really just here to help promote South Dakota and just grow our tax base here.
Well, that's really interesting. When you say lending partners, is that something that differentiates you from other locations, or what types of organizations are you thinking about?
Yeah, so of course you have your traditional lending from the banking community, but also across the state there's numerous revolving loan funds with different organizations across South Dakota, and then of course with some of our other players that might receive some federal funding and funding from other directions, and also grant dollars too that other organizations in our state have to help spur development.
Well, I know from a foreign direct investor standpoint, I was actually on LinkedIn this morning looking at some people talking in other European capitals, Munich, Geneva, just kind of some chatter on LinkedIn of them talking about how much money is available in incentives in the United States. Yeah. So how do you, this is maybe a little bit off topic, but from an incentive standpoint, how do you feel like South Dakota competes in terms of incentivizing projects that are a good fit?
Yeah, no, good question. So in South Dakota, our biggest, I would say our top 2 incentives are, not necessarily that shiny object that we can give somebody right away. Of course, it's our low tax structure is number 1. Our business climate, is very, very competitive, if not, the best across the country. That's number 1. Number 2, kind of a non-monetary incentive is, our permitting processes on projects are a lot shorter than most states.
Yep.
And we always try to find ways to cut red tape. So, as our development team is out there talking with these businesses, we're also, kind of getting a barometer feel for, what maybe legislatively or, a state permitting or federal permitting process, how we can streamline people's projects to get them, up and running a lot quicker than most states. And we have the right players, either at the state level, we can get folks connected to the right state leaders, and or, as you probably know, who our representatives are up in Congress or on Capitol Hill with, Senator Thune, And then also, Mike Rounds on the representative side as well. So we have the right people that can bring the right voices to make things change.
Yeah, it's interesting with low tax locations. When I've talked to other states that are also low tax, it's basically the incentive that's always there. It's the evergreen incentive, whereas other locations might have to have a very large incentive program to offset their
Yeah.
high tax structure. So it's kind of a humble way of being in South Dakota. Pardon me.
No, you're spot on, and like what we like to say is, we're not a honeymoon state in the aspect of we're a relationship state at the end of the day. We're not here just for the bliss and joy, the first 6 months to get a business up and going. We're in this for the long haul, and we're not going to take a lot from you as you look to invest in the state. We're going to make sure you keep that in your pocket, as you start operations, and then we let you do work and we get out of the way until you need us for something.
Adam, what kind of projects are y'all typically getting, going after? Is it industrial, food and beverage? What kind of things is South Dakota landing?
Yeah, no, that's a good question as well, Charles. So just quickly, our targeted industries that my team and our office goes after, the manufacturing, industrial sector, of course, it employs the most people in the state. Anything agriculture, so production ag, value-added ag projects, livestock development as well, the biotech sector, and then cybersecurity as well. And a couple of ancillary ones would be what we consider the shooting, hunting, and outdoor industry, just due to the nature of the state as well. And then banking as well. There's another industry that it brings in a lot of tax dollars to the state. It's another kind of an ancillary industry that we go after. But from a couple of projects that we're able to get across the finish line, just to give you an idea, Charles, to maybe shed some light on a little deeper on the question. We had the company CJ Schwann's make a significant expansion here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in their industrial park, which is Foundation Park here in Sioux Falls. And also they just recently moved in and purchased a facility in downtown Sioux Falls to house a lot of their corporate staff as well. Their corporate office hasn't moved, but that's something that we're strongly in talks with, hopefully help get them to make that move here. But then also we just had a ribbon cutting on a soybean plant, well over north of $500 million project, opened up in Mitchell, South Dakota.
Okay.
And that soybean plant will be able to help provide a lot of resources for our producers here in the state as well. So instead of exporting those soybeans outside the state, we're looking to keep those here and kind of do a value add as well. And then that kind of steamrolls into kind of the FDI component and trade and getting some of those soybeans to countries outside the state.
Cool. The hot topic today is data centers. Has South Dakota played in that space at all? Yeah,
so we have a handful of very small data centers.
Okay.
We don't have that large scale data center that everybody's trying to court these days, but the state is heavily in support of data centers. It's an industry that we want to see grow in South Dakota in the right space.
Yep.
And of course, we need to be able to be competitive, on a national level as well. And so, we're, as a state, we're fairly conservative, as you might know, here in South Dakota, which, going back where like we stated, we don't give a lot up front typically to help move projects. But with these data centers, we're trying to find ways where we can incentivize them to locate here. Now we have the space, one, and two, we have the potential power in the grid space to handle those data centers. So, I would say yes, we're strongly in support of those, and we would garner any opportunity to get those here. And we have a couple that we've been working with here over the last, I would say, year to 2 years as well, that are in varying stages.
Adam, when I was prepping for the call today, I was looking at your energy mix, your fuel supply, And it looks like almost 80% of the energy in the state could be from renewables if a project needed it to be.
Yep.
Is that driving specific interest, maybe from ESG-driven projects or like those tech companies that Charles was mentioning?
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, to your point, so most of our energy that we produce here is renewable. So wind is a big player in that, and then also hydro.
From the Missouri
would be the
River?
next one. The Missouri River, yeah. And so that river kind of cuts our state in half, but with all the hydropower that's generated from that. And then some solar, not as much solar, but it'd be primarily wind, number one, and then the hydroelectricity. So to your point, a lot of companies do look at the state from that standpoint, so they know where their power is coming from.
Yeah, I would think from a location benchmarking perspective, if you've got an ESG-driven project or you've got some sort of sustainability initiative that you need to benchmark against or achieve against, I mean, South Dakota ought to be on the list.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And another one that we don't currently have, nuclear power. It's something that the state is taking a hard look at. We have a couple of utility companies here in the state that are, making efforts. And I would say in partnerships with us here at the state level, those conversations are going well. And we're trying to find ways to integrate that here in the future, which whether that be 7-8 years or maybe 10 years down the road. But from a nuclear perspective, it's one of those things where you don't want to be the first one to jump into some of this technology, but we want to be on the forefront of it and be receptive of it. But I would maybe one thing I would say to that question too is we still lean into fossil fuels here in South Dakota because we know in the short term we need to.
Well, you have
so
mining.
Some mining. Yep, out on the west side of the state there in the beautiful Black Hills region of South Dakota. So we lean into fossil fuels here in the short term because we know it's still going to be a strong need as well.
On the when I think of South Dakota, also when you mentioned soybeans and all of the agriculture, are you seeing biogas projects? You've got biomanufacturing, biofuels, biotech, but I'm assuming that with that ag kind of educational background, that almost everybody is involved in ag econ or that sector in some way across the state.
Yeah, so we have a few small folks that are into the biofuel realm. We have a lot of, I would say, conversations going on with some larger scale biofuel, renewable jet fuel is always a hot button topic. So not necessarily maybe the soybeans, but our corn producers, so taking that corn stover, not the corn cob, but the stover, the rest of the corn that cob that you would see. That's typically where we're seeing a lot of those renewable biofuel companies looking at the state. And so those, again, are varying stages of conversations, but haven't necessarily landed that large biofuel manufacturer quite yet. But it's something that I could see coming in the near future in the state.
Yeah, I could too, especially with the rail network, right? So BNSF Railway is one of the large dominant players in the state. We've got, I think so every Friday we feature a different property as part of Strata Platforms, helping our clients extend their reach and exposure. And there was a BNSF Railway certified site in South Dakota that we featured recently. What types of as you collaborate with the rail economic development team, what types of things are you all working on together?
Yeah. So BNSF is, of course, the largest rail player here in South Dakota, Class 1 rail. And that the property would have been Foundation Park here just northwest of Sioux Falls.
Yes, it was.
And so we like to partner with them. We're in conversations with them monthly, not just BNSF, but all the other rail users here in the state as well. Some of the ones that we're starting to maybe take a look at from a study perspective is some transloading, larger scale potential industrial parks with offload, transload parcels that we might be able to attract some larger industrial users to the state, which we don't really have a big industrial park that can do some of that transloading.
Yeah, I think that would be really smart. That was a topic recently at a conference we were at in August. It was encouraging, if they're doing industrial development, to really look at those transload opportunities. So we'd be very interested in being kept
Yeah.
informed about that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, with container shipping, it kind of all goes hand in hand. But I know we're starting to take a look at maybe doing some more feasibility studies to see what that looks like and what we maybe need to do from an infrastructure standpoint to make that work.
Adam, one of the things when we met with the team from South Dakota when they were here in Greenville, they talked about, and you mentioned cybersecurity being one of your focus points. I think they talked about a school that's where I'm going with this is workforce development. I think there's a couple of small colleges that you guys have that are doing a lot as far as cybersecurity. I would imagine that helps in the workforce development and getting those people ready to take jobs. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we have Dakota State University, which is in Madison, South Dakota, and it's about 45 minutes northwest of Sioux Falls, where I'm located. A large player in the cybersecurity AI realm of things with graduating students. And so, as we look to diversify our state's economy, we're trying to find ways to keep those kids here. And through some public-private partnerships with the state of South Dakota, Dakota State University, and a pretty large donor that came in with some dollars as well, we helped create what's called the Dakota State Applied Research Center. So DARC, so we call that DARC for short. It's pretty cool information. If you're able to just Google DARC, DARC, you'll be able to kind of see what's going on there. But it's going to be, again, in Northwest Sioux Falls. So it's a partnership between Dakota State and the city of Sioux Falls in the state of South Dakota, where we're trying to keep a lot of these defense AI industry here in South Dakota, but also keep it as somewhat of an incubator. So as these students are graduating from Dakota State, then also School of Mines, which is out west on the west side of the state, keep those bright kids here. And if they can develop ideas and a potential business platform, hopefully we can keep those folks here and keep those businesses in the state. But then kind of an ancillary piece to that would be the defense industry. So that cybersecurity, AI, and defense industry kind of, they marry together pretty well. And so that's a big piece of that as well. And so there's, of course, going to be one of the largest SCIFs will be located there at the DARC facility. And then a lot of these projects that would spin off of here from a defense side might also play a role in the Ellsworth Air Force Base. Which again is out on the west side of the state, just east of Rapid City, South Dakota. They're going to be receiving the new B-21 bomber soon, and so there's going to be a couple $1 billion of growth going into that base in the city of Box Elder, which just is right adjacent to the Ellsworth Air Force Base. But so there's going to be a strong need, not just in I would say in the general area of cybersecurity, Charles, but also just the defense sector is going to be another area that we're going to pay close attention to.
Yeah, when I flew into Rapid City last year, you fly over that Air Force Base, and I noticed all those. Yeah, it's impressive. It's cool to see.
Yeah, and they were currently redoing the runway, and so they had all the bombers were up in North Dakota. For life of me, can't remember the base up there, but that's where they're currently located. But pretty soon we'll be having that new bomber wing located at Ellsworth. And like I said, between the state and federal dollars that are going into that base, it's going to be well north of $1 billion of investment over the next handful of years.
Well, and then I'm just assuming, well, at least I hope for the state that extends into the whole aviation value chain, right, in terms of MRO facilities or component manufacturers that can benefit from that funding.
Oh, yeah. And we've had, just in the last month, we've had a couple of aviation aeronautics companies reach out to us based on that information, just kind of how you laid that out. So we have a couple of ongoing projects here that just kind of bubbled up, I would say, in the last couple of months that we're trying to cite. And they're kind of that small to mid-tier company that's looking for an opportunity for larger growth.
Yeah.
And then maybe that helps build some of the demand for maybe the sustainable aviation fuel or some of the other biofuels that,
Yeah,
those
sure.
projects kind of can all be a circular economy working together.
Yep, sure, you sure can. And we're always looking for those synergies and just trying to see where we can kind of site those projects all together.
Well, over the past couple of months, as we've had the podcast, we've definitely heard from people that are sitting in Europe, in Asia, business relationships, people we've met at Select USA, former colleagues that we've worked with. And so if you were to be speaking to them, so for example, an international investor, how do you typically position South Dakota to that foreign direct investor that really doesn't know the USA that well?
Yeah. So from a South Dakota standpoint, we always like to start, as we're visiting with these folks in any of our trade missions that we've done here the last handful of years, is just really, really position South Dakota as, hey, we're family first, meaning, we're here to help guide you in your efforts. We're here to be a true partner in what you're looking to do here in our state. And some of our efforts, what we've been doing from a trade mission standpoint is we partnered with an organization here in the state called South Dakota Trade, so SD Trade. And we've been setting up trade missions over the last couple of years in partnership with them, and having either our governor attend, our commissioner here at JWD, or potentially myself. But, we've been to Taiwan, Japan, Mexico. We've been to Israel twice over the last 2 years, and then it's most recently in the UK and Northern Ireland as well. And so we're just trying to, tell South Dakota's story along with the U.S. story as well, but that we're here to be just a true partner, and we want that business in South Dakota, and we just want to find ways we can, take down any barriers at the end of the day.
I would think that if you were to crosswalk South Dakota with some of these other countries, that there'd be a lot of commonalities, right? So you've already got 300 international companies. You've already got existing trade networks, a lot of synergy in terms of sectors. And so I would think that there'd be, kind of some sister kind of relationships, right, back and forth that you can lean further into.
Yeah, and with our business community too, we're trying to get them a little bit more acclimated to this FDI concept, and it's new to most of them as well here in our state, as you can probably imagine. And so it's a learning process, not just from getting that company in Japan or Taiwan or Mexico to look at South Dakota as an investment opportunity, but to your point, trying to find those sister opportunities where we can really help pair a company in South Dakota with somebody overseas, where it can be a win-win for everybody.
Well, before we have to let you go, our listeners are also really interested in land, in sites, and on the community side, all of our economic development clients, they share a couple of common challenges with, I'm sure, your organization. So one would be, how do we balance rural communities with the needs of our urban clusters? And then how do we develop industrial land for these future projects? So from an organizational, we were looking globally, but now if we come back and look just inside the state, how does your organization look across the state and think long-term about industrial development?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. From a site perspective, when we're looking at development, what we recently done, we kind of had a three-prong approach. We've put money towards a statewide infrastructure plan, which took a look at the good and the bad. Of course, because we need to see where we can get better. And then the second prong to that would be identifying high impact sites, which might not be quite, they're greenfield sites or potentially brownfield, but sites that are just high impact sites across the state. And then the third piece to that, the third prong to that was some CIP planning for some of our more rural communities as well, and getting them engaged in the economic development process in the light of you have to have a plan in place, primarily for infrastructure, whether that be having control of a piece of land or what's your 2 to 5 to 10 year outlook of getting utilities ran to that property. So kind of with that 3-prong approach we've done over the last 2 years is we're trying to build up our properties across the state, and then find ways how we can come in again with our public-private partnerships, because it can't all come from the state, of course, but help educate those folks on how do they get to that point from the private side. And one thing from a standpoint in South Dakota, fairly rural state, we have just under 1 million people, so about 930,000 folks across the state. But we're an in-migration state as well over the last handful of years. But some of our rural communities that are somewhat near our MSA territories here in South Dakota, when we're explaining this to potential prospects is they always say they need to be within 30 minutes of the airport in Sioux Falls. Well, you could be in a prime location, probably almost 50 miles north of Sioux Falls, and still be within that driving distance. And what we like to say too is our commute here in South Dakota is a lot less hectic, and a lot prettier than maybe a 30 minute to an hour commute in Greenville. Maybe.
That's what Charles said when he visited last year.
Yeah, I was there a year ago, actually, and for a pheasant hunt, as we talked about that. And we flew into Rapid City and actually did a drive from Rapid City to Pierre, and it's such a beautiful state. It's amazing how much land is there, right? And it's a wonderful place to visit. I fell in love with it. And along the way, I told Susan this. We stopped in Wall, South Dakota. And which was interesting, and they're one of our newest clients. So Wall, South Dakota is now a client of ours. So it's a great place to be. We thank you for joining us. We really do. Any places that you're going to be, events you're going to be attending in the future that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I would say, one of the biggest ones coming up is we'll be up in Canada the first week of November for one of our trade missions, again in partnership with South Dakota Trade. That would probably be the biggest event coming up. And then kind of what you alluded to there, Charles, we have our kind of a big economic development event in South Dakota, our governor's pheasant hunt here in a couple of weeks, where we'll host a lot of in-state, out-of-state guests and prospects alike. And so it'll be a good opportunity to, maybe share a beverage with some folks and promote South Dakota and shoot our state bird.
Well, Adam, as we close out, we always like to ask every guest their why. Why do you choose to use your skills and talents on producing economic development opportunity for your state?
Yeah. Well, I've been a born and raised South Dakotan. I'm 43 years old. I love South Dakota. Biggest thing is a couple of questions that you guys pinged on was the rural part of our state. Those are the communities that I, love to fight for and love to try to position them, for success, because I want to see a lot of those communities be successful for the next 50 to 100 years. So that's, I would say, what drives me. It's more the rural aspect of the job. Of course, the big projects in the bigger cities are good too, but it's trying to position those more rural communities that I know have the opportunity to be successful. So that's what drives me for the most part each day.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. That you share that commonality with several people that we've interviewed, and we also like to bring resources to rural communities. So we appreciate you joining us this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. And I would say just one more note, our partnership with Strata and the Lasso system has been great too. It's been a great partnership over the last couple of years with you guys, and it's helped position us to be successful in our work as well.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for saying that.
Well, that'll wrap us up for the Ribbon Cut podcast with our guest, Adam Molseed.
Thank you, Adam.